Well, hello, welcome to One More Pen. This is part B of me swatching my blue inks. Today I will focus on the Diamine inks. So we'll have a look at those and let's head over to the paper and get to it. Well, these are my Diamine blue inks that I'll be swatching today. We have Diamine Cat, which I'm not sure if it's blue, but it's a blue-gray of some kind, so I'll put it with the blue family today. Diamine Denim, so Gaso Sea Blue Black, Prussian Blue, Pelham Blue and Steel Blue. So these are some lovely inks and let's see how they do on paper. Alright, let's get started. I will be using my Roller & Klingner dip pen, gloss dip pen for this. And I think we can start with Diamine Cat. This is my my newest ink, which I really love this color. And I don't know if it's because I love cats as well, but I just really like it. So I'll do a swatch and using some earbuds for this, and I know I should find something a little bit more sustainable, and I will do that. And we'll do a second pass so we can see what a wet nib would look like. Now this is certainly not a dark, very dark color. Get some ink on the pen here. So this is Diamine. Diamine Cat. There we go. It's definitely not a particularly wet ink, I would say, but you can already see some lovely shading there. I've been using this ink mainly with my TWSBI Eco with a broad nib, and with a pen such as the TWSBI Eco, that's already quite a wet pen. With a broad nib you get a really lovely show of the color. So I'll put that aside. Let me try find something close to this that we can compare it with. Maybe not a good comparison, but Steel Blue. I guess this is a very underrated ink. It's one of the first inks that I bought, and although it's a lovely color, I just haven't found myself using it that much, and I don't know why that is, because it really is a very nice color. And we'll do a second pass. Doesn't make a very big difference, the second pass, but get some, I almost forgot, get some ink on the pen. Alright. Diamine. Steel Blue. A little bit of shading, I wouldn't say a great deal, but very lovely ink. Alright, let me put this one away. I think it's something I should really make an effort to use a bit more. I've actually had so many pens inked up that the ink was starting to dry in my pens. I just wasn't getting around to using all of them, and this is one of the colors that unfortunately I had to clean out the pen. And so now I'm trying to have only a few pens inked up at a time so that I can really use them properly. And even then it's difficult because I still find myself inking up more and more pens, and so I have to force myself to only ink up pens when I've cleaned some of them. But I guess that's how it goes. So next one I will go with Pelham Blue. Now this is another ink that I haven't used that much, and I don't know why. Maybe I have too many blue inks. I don't know, is that possible? Can you have too many inks? Don't know if that's really possible, but alright, here we go, Pelham Blue. Yes, you can still see that. And it would look lovely in a wet nib. Diamine. Now I don't know if it's just the way that I'm holding the glass dip pen, but it almost feels smoother. I don't know if it's possible that an ink can make that big of a difference, but it just goes on so smooth. I just really love the way this ink feels when you put it to paper, and definitely some very, very nice shading going on there already. Let me put the ink away. Especially the you know, when I did the second pass on the swab, it's you can definitely see that in a wet pen you would get a really nice dark ink there. Lovely. Right, so what do I think would be close to? Let's go with the Prussian Blue. Now the Prussian Blue, it's another ink I haven't used that much. Unfortunately, I can say that about many of my blue inks. But when I got the Prussian Blue, I bought a pen with it and I inked it up with Prussian Blue, and the pen turned out to be really not a winner. And I suppose that's why I haven't used the ink much. But of course it's not fair. I need to. Right. Well, there we go. This is it's a very faded blue, I would say. What do you think about that one? It reminds me a little bit of the Diamine Cat. It's a very, I would say, not so saturated ink. Definitely goes on quite light, faded, very unique color, I would say. Also very understated. I think it would do good in some of my pens, and I need to, I guess, ink it up with this ink a bit more. Let's move to a new page. Oh, I just smeared the ink. Lovely. Well, I think it's about time we have a look at Gaso C. This is a lovely ink. I've used this quite a bit. Oh, I've got ink on my fingers, of course. This is a very deep blue, and it's just a lovely. I have to dip this deep into the bottle to get some ink there. So, oh, you can see that going on so nicely. Now, is it because I dipped it that deep? I don't know. We'll do a second go there. It doesn't make much of a difference because this ink is so dark and saturated that it goes on really nice. Now I think this is just a really well saturated, very lubricated ink. It is so smooth. It's a really wet ink as well. I think you can see that. Now I do wonder if did I dip the earbud? Did I get too much ink on it to compare it with the others? I don't know. I'll try again. I'll just get a little bit on there and we'll see what happens. Yeah, so it is possible that maybe I got a little bit more ink on there than with the others, so there we can definitely see a difference. So I think that's a more fair representation of what this color looks like when it goes on. Really lovely color. I've been using Gaso C, let me tell you, in my I got a Parker Frontier not so long ago, fine nib, and I've been using this in my Parker Frontier, and I just found that it's such a nice ink with a fine nib because it goes on really dark. Alright, we have 2 inks left, which I think will probably be fairly close. Let's look at the blue black. This is also a lovely color. Diamine's blue black. I've used this quite a bit. In my Lamy All-Star petrol special edition version, because I think the ink matches the color of the pen so well. So let's get some ink on the pen. This is Diamine blue black. I also have a feeling that this is a well lubricated ink. It goes on really smooth, and I do enjoy it in my medium and broader nibs. I think it will do fine in a fine as well, but it's just an ink that I really like to see it go on, you know, nice and thick. So we'll put that one aside for the moment. And my last ink is Denim. I haven't used so much of this ink, but it is definitely one of my favorites. We'll do a second wipe just to see what a wet nib might look like. And definitely some goes on much darker. A second. Then, so this is Diamine Denim. Nice and wet. Now, of course, there's no way to be precise with how much ink I put on the glass dip pen. Of course, it's not an exact science, but I do get a sense that some of the inks are drier and others are wetter, if that makes any sense. I know it will to some of you. Right. So let me zoom in on these inks and we can have a closer look at how they look when they dried. Okay, let's have a closer look at some of the inks now that they've dried. We have Diamine Cat, and it has developed some really lovely shading there in the swatch and also in the scribble. You can see there. This is an ink that I think does really well with a broad nib, a really wet pen and a broad nib, and I tend to use it most in my TWSBI Eco with a broad nib. It's a really wet pen, and because it's a broad nib, it's got really good flow, and it really shows off the color, and you can see the shading really well when you write with it. Next up we have Diamine Steel Blue. I wouldn't say that there's a lot of shading going on, but with a wetter nib you would definitely get a more saturated color there. On the scribble we can definitely see some shading. It's a really underrated color. I really like this one. Then we have Palm Blue. Very big difference there between what I would say would be a dry or a wet nib. But this is, well, with the ink, with the dip pen, the glass dip pen, certainly that looks more like what a really wet nib would look like. Really nice deep blue. The Prussian blue, it's a sort of a faded blue, very much like the Celadon Cat. I would say that this ink would do really well with a broader nib, medium and broad nibs, I suppose. Definitely some shading going on, but it would definitely work well with a wet nib. Alright, let's look at what have we got here. So Gaso C, a really nice deep blue, very saturated. That's the second swatch that I did, where you can see the difference between wet and dry nib. This is an ink that I would also say is I would recommend using this ink in a pen that you're not going to clean out very often or change inks very often, because this is an ink that doesn't clean so easily as some of the others. If I compare it to, say, Parker washable blue, if I use Parker washable blue I can just flush a pen once or twice and it's clean, but with Gaso C you have to spend a little bit more time to clean it out. It's an ink that doesn't want to go anywhere, but it's nevertheless a really good ink. I've been using it mainly in my Parker Frontier with a fine nib, and I think this ink does really well with a fine nib because it's such a bright blue. It really stands out. Alright, the next one we have is the Diamine Blue Black. And you would see some difference between a wet and a dry nib there. That's what the scribble looks like. It would be interesting to compare this blue black with the Schaefer blue black that I swatched in a previous video, and maybe I think we need to do that. Maybe we'll do a quick comparison. And then last but not least, the Diamine Denim. Also a kind of a sort of a faded blue, very much like denim would be, I suppose. But I really like this kind of color where it doesn't necessarily jump out at you. Like Gaso C, I would say that's a color that really gets attention. It jumps out at you a bit. It's quite bright. Denim is more faded, more understated, and I think this is an ink that I would use when I don't necessarily want, you know, to draw attention to my writing, when I just enjoy it for what it is. Denim is a really nice color. I've used it quite a bit, and I think it's still a while before I need to order new bottles, but it's one of the inks that I'm definitely using. But I think let's do a comparison with the Diamine Blue Black and the Schaefer Blue Black. I really want to put these two inks side by side. So we'll have a look at that. Right, so this is where I did the Schaefer Blue Black in a previous video, and I do think it would be quite interesting to do a comparison with the Diamine Blue Black. So I've got that one here, and we will see how they compare. I'm going to do it over here, so it's and the second part. Well, already we can see that these are two very, very different blue black inks. This is the Diamine Blue Black. Definitely two very different blue blacks, but I like that. If they were all the same, there would be no reason to have different ones. I really can think that I would use them in different pens. Now that I look back at the Schaefer Blue Black, you know, again, there's definitely a green yellow tint to it. I don't know if it shows up on the screen, but definitely a green blue tint to it, whereas the Diamine is really just, you know, blue. I don't see a hint of any other color coming through there. But both very nice inks, very nice color, and I'm happy to actually compare them quickly and see that there is quite a big difference between the two inks, and I'll definitely be using them in different pens. Alright, well, thank you for joining me for this video. I will be swatching all of my inks in the coming weeks, so keep an eye out for those videos. And well, today is the 31st of December 2023. I hope that you have a wonderful new year, and I wish you all of the best, and I will see you next year. Keep well.